I'm from the Public Security Bureau. I'm protecting the regime. If you're the enemy, there's no need for any courtesy.
The detective, who asked to be identified only by the surname Jiang, revealed new details about the alleged mistreatment of Uyghur detainees.
We gather them together, put hoods on their head, 2 people handcuffed together to prevent them from escaping. During the train transportation, we don't give them food. They're only allowed bottle caps to drink water, to moisten their lips. To keep order, don't let them go to the toilet. They reach their destinations in 2 days. They reach Xinjiang.
Let your winners ride.
Rain Man David Sack.
No, let's be honest. Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really care, and I think that's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard...
Wait, you're saying you personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth, okay? Of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line.
And once held in the re-education camps, even worse was waiting, he claims.
You're allowed to beat people. It's okay to make them turn in other people's names. If accidents occur, it's normal that some people die. That's just how you get used to saying it. Please don't blame me.
Let's be honest. Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? Of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line.
Hong Kong, no more to stand with China. We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message?
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad that you found my backup to Anna's Thoughts and Musical Parodies here at Anna Speaks Out. Thank you for being here. So, a couple quick things before we get all the way into it. The hats that I was wearing in the intro are Brixton hats that are brand new, and they just have a couple slight flaws with them that made them not able to be sold. So they've only ever been worn just for me modeling them. I am selling them on Facebook Marketplace, which I will link to in the description. And if you are interested, you can message me about it on Instagram, because I don't have Facebook Messenger because it's complicated. It wasn't working out for me. Alright, so now let's get all the way into today's video. So the shamelessly shameful star of this show is Chamath Palihapitiya, who, according to Google, is a Sri Lankan-born Canadian and American venture capitalist, engineer, SPAC sponsor, founder and CEO of Social Capital, and also an early senior executive at Facebook, which just makes it all make more sense. The people at Facebook tend to be pretty awful-seeming people, so there we go. And to my understanding, he is also a partial owner of the NBA team, the Warriors, which is how I was introduced to him. I had never heard of him before a couple days ago when I actually heard Ben Shapiro talking about this story. And yeah, he was the guy in the intro who was saying that he doesn't care about Uyghur genocide. I tried to look up how he was related to the NBA just to verify, and all that I could find was this statement posted on the NBA website in relation to the Warriors. Dated January 17, 2022, it says, as a limited investor who has no day-to-day operating functions with the Warriors, Mr. Palihapitiya, however you say that, does not speak on behalf of our franchise, and his views certainly don't reflect those of our organization. But a lot of commentators who I've seen talking about this topic have mentioned how the NBA still did not acknowledge the Uyghurs in any way, which I find interesting as well. And it's really not surprising though, because I know they have a history, the NBA does, of basically sucking up to China, because as far as I know, I guess there's a lot of basketball fans there, and they would probably lose money if they said anything against them. So they're basically just letting themselves be controlled and be suckers for China, which is pretty disgraceful in my opinion. And since Chamath was getting so much crap talked about him after the crazy thing that he said, he did try to walk it back in a Twitter post that I tried to look up on Twitter today, and it's not even there anymore as far as I can tell. But here is some previous coverage of that.
In a tweet last night, he said, in re-listening to this week's podcast, I recognize that I come across as lacking empathy. I acknowledge that entirely. To be clear, my belief is that human rights matter, whether in China, the United States, or elsewhere, full stop.
So he says that he comes across as lacking empathy, but I don't see how it could be taken any other way than that. I don't think it was just coming across that way. I think he's just severely lacking in empathy, probably because he's a billionaire who has no real serious concerns of his own, as far as I'm aware, and he just can't empathize. I, on the other hand, have a pretty opposite situation. I'm definitely not a millionaire, and I have been in a severely abusive relationship before, and I can actually relate to some of the stuff that happens to these people. So, you know, I don't know what I can actually do about it, but I definitely care that it's happening, even though I strongly disagree with Islam, and I know that, you know, that can be a threat sometimes to the safety of our nation. I think that China is just as bad in how they are reacting, and there's just a lot of evil in this world. And now I want to show you just a little bit more of the Sky News episode that I think makes some pretty pertinent points about how these people aren't actually being imprisoned because of some serious crimes that they committed. It's just basic, petty little things that apparently Xi Jinping doesn't like, and he also just tries to deny that all this stuff even happens, like he does with everything. So, watch this.
When I got there, more than 900,000 people had already been detained for numerous petty reasons, like saying something wrong. We detained them on orders from the superiors, not on any evidence. What kind of evidence can we have? What kind of evidence does this need? How to say, under this kind of management in the re-education centre, beating somebody to death for sure happens.
Sky News is not able to independently verify Zhang's account, although he has provided extensive documentation. Sky News put Zhang's allegations to the Chinese government at a press conference in Beijing.
It's forbidden to insult or treat students at the training centre badly by any means. The things said by the so-called local policeman could not happen.
Zhang does not agree with that.
They don't see ordinary people as human beings. They do things that you don't do to human beings.
Zhang did some of those things too. He must live with that. But no longer part of the system, he is denouncing it. Tom Cheshire, Sky News, Beijing.
And in final closing, I actually prayed and asked God to tell me a verse to share right before I went to look for the one that I put at the beginning, and I got this. For we do not commend ourselves again to you, but give you opportunity to boast on our behalf, that you may have an answer for those who boast in appearance and not in heart. 2 Corinthians 5:12. And this is one of the books that was written by Paul, who went through all sorts of crazy torture and everything for sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it sounds to me like he's saying that you can share with people how it's worth it to go through all of that in order to have the hope of heaven and to have the blessing of living life with God. And people like this NBA CEO and Xi Jinping try to appear like impressive, incredible, powerful people, but you can see on the inside they're just really dark and despicable because they haven't had the revelation of Jesus Christ, made manifest in their hearts, so they haven't been changed into God's image, and that's what they need. And so we just need to pray for our enemies. That's really the best and most powerful thing that we could do. Thank you again so much for being here today. Since you liked the video enough to make it all the way to the end, don't forget to click the thumbs up and share with somebody else who would also find it interesting. Leave your comments below to continue in the conversation. And if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to check out the link in the description for several different ways that you could support what I do here. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you are in, and I will see you next time. Bye.